Hey pals, happy Friday. Thanks for coming back to see me. Now I'm not live this time. I'm having a bad hair day, and that's all I'm going to say about that. So you won't see me this week, but you will see more clay and epoxy sculpt than before, because we don't have to go through all that. But before I get started today, I'm just going to tell you that we're going to talk a little bit about texture, making texture with texture plates, and then forming a pendant with our fingers rather than cutting it out with a cookie dough thing or putting it into a mold. So we're going to talk about that freeform pendants and texture and how to apply a little bit of color. We touched on a little bit in last week's live video, but not a whole lot. So this week I played around with it a lot, and I've got some neat ideas for you that really are super simple, and you'll be able to make them quick. But before we get into that, don't forget, please subscribe to my channel, and if you like the video, please put a like. Those thumbs up mean a lot to me. And if you'd like to leave me a comment, if you have a question or a kind comment, I would love that. I can't get enough of those. Leave me as many as you want. We do respond. So going forward with this, okay, first I've got my Epoxy Sculpt all mixed up already. So I didn't show you how to do that this time because we've done, I think, 5 videos previous to this where I did. So just go back to the one on Epoxy Sculpt Basics and you'll see how to do it. But it's basically half and half, half part B, half part A, the hardener and the resin. You mix it up just like, resin does, only it's clay. Okay, so this is all mixed and it's ready to go. It's rested for about 2-3 minutes. 5 minutes is optimum, but I think we're good. It feels pretty, it's kind of tacky yet, but it's still pretty good. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just pinch off a little piece. And here's a little tip too. When I was working with this stuff last night, I made a really big ball of it. I just kind of wanted to see how long it would last before it started hardening up. And I discovered that the bigger ball that you make of it, the longer the play time is on it. The smaller, it cures faster. So like if I'd only made, like, say, this much to work with, trying to economize, which is always a good thing, it would have cured a lot faster. I probably only would have had about an hour tops to be able to make anything out of it. So if I had a lot of things to decide and wasn't sure and want to play around, I might start curing on me before I was done playing. But when you make this big ball of stuff like this, I've just doubled my time on it. That's what I found out. I actually worked out of a big ball last night for 3 hours before it got too hard to really work with. So I would like to say, if you're going to make a bunch of stuff, then go for it. Go ahead and mix up a bunch because you'll be okay. At least I was last night. So anyway, let me pinch that ball off. I want to make a little round pendant, okay? Now, this is something you kind of have to learn, from doing how much is going to be too much. Till I press this out with my thumbs, this is going to be a lot. This is going to be more than I want it to be. I can tell that from looking at this ball right now. So I'm going to just pinch it to about half of that. Put some back and try it again. Because this way, I don't want to get them too thick. And I'll show you in a minute on my samples what I'm talking about. But this is going to be about right, I think. Because I don't want too big of a pendant, okay? So now what I'm going to do with this, I'm going to use my thumbs, okay? Don't worry about fingerprints on these because we're going to add texture to them and you will never see it. So just don't even worry. So I'm going to just kind of press down with my finger and my thumbs and just kind of flatten it out into a ball, round ball. And oh, by the way, you'll see that I'm working on Teflon sheet today. In fact, I'm going to do this. See, it peels right up off of that. With the plastic, it took a little bit more doing, okay? So this Teflon sheet is your best. And I cut some little small pieces up too, so I could take and turn it around and move it, okay? Which you could still do that with the heavy Ziploc plastic stuff. That still works. So if you don't have this stuff and you need to just use that, then just use that. Don't worry about it. But this, I found, is the best yet. Silicone sheet like this gray stuff here, that's good too, but I'm finding I like this Teflon sheet the best. Okay, so I've got fairly round. So you've got to eyeball it, and then you have to figure out now how big, do I want it to be? How much did I need and all that? I seem to remember that you can buy, I know for baking you can, there's big mats and they have like little balls around the size, and if you make a ball this size, it'll make something this size for you. I'm gonna look, I know they have that. So I'm gonna look for some of those. Or you can make something up for yourself to see, so you kind of know in the future. Another thing that was suggested is you do measurements, like weigh it. Like, you'll know then, if I have a ball that's mixed up and it weighs X amount, it's probably going to be X size. So it's something you have to play with. But I'm trying to get nice and round. But you just do that with your fingers. You just push it out. So I've had pretty nice success with this already. And I just want to push it out a little bit more. Because this, it's fine. This is fine, but I just like it to be not as thick, okay? I did that because I wanted to flatten it out a little bit more. See, I did too. I must have had a little, like a little air bubble in there. But this is okay. So you just kind of eyeball it. This is how I want it to be, like this. Okay. So this is going to be my pendant. If I want a round pendant, I could have this. Okay. Now I have this nice little texture mat. Now you can see this is well used. And it's got some mica powder done into it, some epoxy sculpt done into it that didn't come out. But it's still going to be okay. I mean, I scrubbed on this, I soaked it. I didn't let it sit for a long time to dry, but I still had an issue because I used it a whole lot yesterday. I mean, for hours. I did a whole bunch of stuff with it. So, you know, it got a little bit goobered up. But anyway, this is just the right size for this. I just kind of pick where I want it to be. And don't worry, there's a little bit of stuff down there. It should not affect it. We'll soon know. And I'm just going to press down on it like this. Or I can take and flip this over and press it this way, however I want to do it. Okay, let's see what we got. Okay, that came off just fine. This I might have to peel off a little bit. Yeah. I should have done it the other way around. But anyway, I've got a nice pattern here. It's not half bad. Myself, it didn't take so good right there in the middle. And this is stuff you'll have to learn to deal with. I just take it and just kind of stamp it, another little piece on there. And it's okay, but you don't want to do that too much and you'll get your design all muddled up, you know. So that's something you kind of have to play with too. But this is going to be pretty good. Okay, so now I'm going to make where I want my hole to be, which is going to be like up in here. So I'm just going to take this pointy tool, which we have on the site. If you need one, you might not. And make my hole. And then what I do is I peel that up off. I could have let that sit a little bit before I do this. I could still do that. But I like it to look pretty decent on the back too, okay? But see, now here's the thing. When you do that, the more you handle it, the more that you kind of muddy up that pattern. So let's just see what we got. Let's go with it and see what we got. I'm going to turn it this way. I didn't put it back on the thing. Okay. So now what I'm going to do, you can take like, this is an example of one that I did. I did this one the other day. It's really pretty. It came out great. So iridescent and pretty. I took a little round spacer bead right there and I sunk it down into it and it kind of finished the hole off for me. Another thing you could do is you could put a short eyelet rivet down in there and it will look all finished. I like to finish off the holes if I can, but I'll have some time after the video I can put it in, so I won't worry about it. Okay, so what I want to do next is I want to take and flip out just a tiny little bit of mica powder into here. This is how I'm going to colorize it. I'm going to use Perfect Pearls today, which we have on the site. You probably have some at home. It's kind of a standard thing in your mixed media kit. I don't need too much. But this is going to be my first. I'm going to just tip it on into here because I don't want any of my fingerprints, oils, or the epoxy sculpt to get back into that because it'll corrupt it. So just a little bit, not a lot. Little goes a long way, but I'm going to just gently take and put my finger into that. So yeah, you're going to have to clean your hands up when you're done. But guess what? Here's the good news. It's easily done. So now look at this. I'm just rubbing it over it and I'm getting a nice pattern. It could have been a little bit better because I handled it a little bit too much. But sometimes it's good to see what's done wrong so you can see what you can do to avoid it. So I never worry about that. Some people even say, we like it that you don't cut it out, that we can see what went wrong. Okay, and you can also, once this is about halfway set up, not all the way cured, you can go ahead and rub it on the back too to colorize it, unless you want to paint it, in which case that's fine too. But you don't have to use embossing ink with the perfect pearls when you put it onto the resin clay, because the resin clay will make it stick. It's on there, so you don't have to worry about that. So I've got my first color done. I like to use a series of maybe 3 colors. So let me get a little bit into here. I'm going to use this blue. Oops, I got a little bit too much. That happens. I'll get a little blue. That should be plenty. This will be plenty. So now that's my next coat. So I like the purple and blue together. So I'm going to take this very finely on my fingertip and just kind of graze over it. Don't go like think you have to cover the whole thing. You want to just, this is going to be like an accent color. Okay? So how pretty is that? And I'm kind of going around the edge with it, you know, to kind of finish it off nice. I have a little bit extra there, but that's okay because this is not the only one I'm making, so. And don't forget you're going to want to have baby wipes handy because you're going to need them. You know, you want to clean up after yourself. Now, the more you pick this up or play with it, it could contort your hole, so you're going to have to be mindful of that so that your hole can stay nice. But anyway, then I like to do, after this, I like 3 colors. So the first one's like a base color, second one's an accent color, and the third one is a metallic, okay? So I am going to choose Perfect Copper. And Javi reminded me so kindly here not too long ago, Brenda, be careful you open it the right way or you'll have it everywhere. And that is so true. See, I had a little bit up under the cap so I could shake it out. So be careful that you open up the right way. So I have just a little bit on here. And I just very lightly want to go just randomly. Maybe get some down into the hole too a little bit across here. And you still do see a little bit of the white from, this is not super white Apoxie Sculpt, this is the standard white. So it's a little bit like off-white. Don't want to get too much in. It's better to do just a little bit at a time. Okay, so there I have one. So I'm going to try and do another one. But first, before I do another one, I am going to get my baby wipes. And I'm going to wipe this off. And now the next one I'm going to do is I'm going to do a teardrop shape, which is kind of sort of like this. I always feel that makes a very good pendant when it's a teardrop. I like a circle. A circle is good, and sometimes what you can do with this, leave the hole out and make it, size it to fit a bezel and put it in there. Tap down into the bezel. If the bezel is deep, you could put a little bit of UV resin over top of it. And oh wow, is that a good look? That's a great look. But that's also another video. So that's all I'm going to say about that right now, but it's a good look. So now I want to make one like this. So I'm going to get another piece of clay off. And I may have to adjust a little bit, but I think this size right here like this should be pretty good. So I have another one here too, but on this one I had not gotten my clay flat enough here, so I've got a little line, so I think this is the better one. But you can make them whatever size. You can make it more elongated than that, you can make it fatter than that, you can make it shorter than that. Whatever you want is fine. Okay, so now I'm just going to start squishing it down with my thumbs. And however else you want to do it. Like some people have things that, you know, you might have, like, let's say the top of this, there's no ridge on this till the end. It might look like it, excuse me, but there isn't. If this was all cleaned up and perfectly, no stuff on it, this would be a good thing to use for a tamper if you wanted. You got to get inventive. There are probably things that people make that you could buy for this, but in my book, this is something you want to make something for yourself, and why spend it? I always say, you want to have the best quality of parts that you possibly can ever, but you never want to spend for stuff that you don't need. If there's some simple solution to it, then don't, don't buy it, make it, or use your hands. Your hands are probably the most valuable tool that you have. You can see I've been pushing in on this to kind of narrow the top a little bit to make my pear shape. So I'm just going to keep tamping it down, tamp. And don't worry if a little bit of something got into it. It's not going to show till you're done. It really isn't. Tamp. This is a little thicker than I'd like it to be. But that can be adjusted simply by pushing it out. Then you could take your cutter and you could cut some off. Your little clay cutter. You could cut some off, take some off of it if you want. Easily done. But I don't think I need to with this one. I'm just going to keep tamping on it. I could take another piece of the Teflon and put over top of it and kind of squish it out. This way too I could avoid some fingerprints. Yeah, see, a little piece of something got down there. Just don't even worry about that. Don't even worry. In this case, you don't have to. Now, when you're doing this, you want to be careful that you get it a nice round curve here that is like not longer on one side than the other. You want it to be, pretty equal, and that your point is like right in the middle. The top of your pear shape is right in the middle of the piece, okay? Now, the thicker you make this, the more weight on the piece it will have, which is not a big deal because it's not heavy, but it might be better in some case if it's your focal and your necklace is going to hang a little bit longer, because it's good to have a little weight. In that case, it's good to have a little weight. So, okay, I think I've got it about to where I like it. You will make yours to where you like it. You don't have to make it just like mine, but you can see how I'm smoothing the edges, kind of going like this. And I'm right-handed, so what I'll do then is turn. So it really is good to get an extra one of these texture sheets and turn it. Not texture, Teflon sheets, that's what I want to say. And you can cut them up and everything. I don't have any on the website right now, but I will soon. Okay, so there you go. I think that's about right. I like it. So now, I'm just going to kind of make my whole... No, wait, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to put my texture on it first. You don't have to. Either way is fine, but I'm going to do it this way. Now, you have to be careful that you have a texture thing that is going to, cover the whole thing. You can't put a little skinny one and then it won't take on the sides. So, but this one's fine for doing little pendants and earrings and stuff like that. It's plenty. So I just want to push it down in. Now, some people will say, just leave it sit for a while. And you could. Other people will say, and I'll show you in a minute, they'll say put mica powder on it first or cornstarch first, and you'll get a much better design. But this wasn't half bad. I'm going to try one. The last one we're going to do together is one that I have put it on first, and let's see what the difference is. Okay? So, anyway, now I'm going to make my hole up about in there, right in the middle. And this time, I think I'll wait till I get back upstairs into my studio upstairs and let this sit a little bit, but don't let it cure all the way. And then I'll flip it over off of here and fix the back to make it nice and even, because if I do too much picking up on this, it's going to contort the design. We don't want to do that, okay? So now I'm ready to put my colors on again. And you can really do your colors however you want. You could have it solid. You could have a different sequence of colors. You could use more colors. I wouldn't really advise using more than 3, though. 3 seems to be about right. Oh, now I got a little blue into it. There's no right, no wrong. Just do it. Just do what you want. Do it till you figure out what works best for you. But always remember to get some on your edges. Always remember to get some on your edges. I think I'm going to put a little tiny bit more of this purple out there. There's just a lot of things you're going to want to make your own tools for. Some you have to buy, some you don't. Okay, now I got a little bit more in there, maybe I wanted, but I can just, use my fingers and just kind of buff it out. But I think this is just so pretty. And I love perfect pearls because they have that mica in them. And so you can get that beautiful iridescent look to them when you use them. So I'll go over some blue, get a little bit of blue into it. Just keep kind of buffing it out with your fingers so that, you know, you have it where you want it to be. But it's really very random. Okay, I'm liking that. And again, what I'll do is I'll let this sit a little bit so it won't pull out of shape, and then I'll turn it over and I'll put color on the back too. But I will have to be very careful when I do that, because if I smush it down, I'll ruin my pattern. But I can't wait till it cures all the way, because then it won't stick. It won't want to stick. Okay, now I have my copper, so I'm going to do a little bit around the hole. And I kind of like to take and be really careful with my metallic colors if I'm using them for accent, because I don't want them everywhere. I want to see that color come through, so I just want to kind of accent. I tend to kind of go on the diagonal across a little bit and then just buff it out a little bit. Just put it randomly where you think it needs a little bit of oomph, you know. Maybe a little bit more there. I think I'm about done. I think I'm about done with that. So that one's done. Okay, so I'm just going to let that set aside here. Now, I said I would try one more piece and put the mica down first and see if we get a better impression, okay? So I'm just going to do something real simple with this, so we won't take too much time. I just want to see, you know, I want you to see what the difference is. That's the deal. Okay, so I've got a round thing here. Now, I really do like the pear shape, so I'm going to go put this one into pear shape. Don't worry, I got this on my finger. I should have wiped it off first. Yes, I should have. But I'm going to use these same colors again, so it doesn't really matter. But yes, 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 yes. You're saying you should have wiped your finger. You are correct. I should have. I absolutely should have. So remember, if the color matters to you, then wipe your hands off. If it doesn't, you're going to use the same set of colors, then don't worry about it. Okay? But once again, the reason that I'm using these Teflon sheets when I cut this up is this is easy to, you know, turn it around. Okay? And like I say, you can do that with a 6x9s too, but these lift off a little bit more nicely. So I think the investment in this case is good. At first, I was skeptical about that. Oh, why should you pay for that? You don't really need to. And then I just kind of messed around with it. I'm like, yeah, I think this one is worth the money. But if you don't have one, don't let that get in the way, okay? Just use some heavy Ziploc plastic, not the sandwich bag type, the heavy stuff, like, you know, like we ship stuff in. Okay? All right, I use my fingernails a lot too. That's why they look so bad anymore. Remember I said a couple weeks ago, I have to cut my fingernails off. Well, yeah, because... Now, you could continue to use your gloves, but then I can't use my fingernails as a tool. So, okay, so now, before I do anything else, I'm going to put mica powder on this. I'm going to put it on before I try to do my impression. I'll get it covered pretty good, so I will get, you know, pretty even look from it. I think that's enough. I'll catch my sides in a minute. But let's just see what happens, okay? Let's do it. Try to get it on as even as you can. And you could even look for a spot in your texture pad. Your silicone texture pad is what you want, silicone. You can even look for a spot in it that has just the right pattern that you want. But I think I'll be fine with this just like this. Okay, now I'm going to press. Press. And you can, if you want, you can walk away and leave this for 10 or 15 minutes. Or not. It's up to you. I haven't done it. See, look, that come right off. It didn't stick to it, did it? It came right off. So that's probably the better way to do it. Now let's say you don't want to use mica powder. You don't want this shimmery look on it. Then you might take a little tiny bit of cornstarch on your finger and rub it over that, or rub it over the top of your yeah, don't put it on the mold, put it over the top of what you're working on. And then you can just go from there. Then you're going to have to clean that mold off good, because I've got color all over it now. But it's going to need to be done anyhow. And everybody has a different way of making holes. Mine's like not the most perfect thing. There's little tools you can get for making holes in that. But what I like is when I go and I take and I stick the bead in it, like I did in this little round spacer bead. Then it all evens up. It all works out. So I've got a little thing on here, a little divot. Get rid of that. Okay, so all I have to do is just put the rest of my color on. Oh, wow. Yeah, that came up a little better because you had a little bit of a cleaner, you know, impression to it. That's much more, it's a better impression, actually, than this one, because this is softer. But, you know, that's not a bad look either. So if you want a softer look, you can. You want it to be crisper, then you're going to need to put cornstarch or your mica powder down first. So that's what we learned. Okay, so I put a little bit on here, a little bit coming across, and I'm about done. So thank you guys for watching today. I'd like to remind you that the workshop, the annual workshop, is going to be online again this year, and it will be May 14th to 16th. And we'll put a link underneath the description of the video to tell you where to go on my website to check out what we're doing, and also if you want to sign up to come. All the details will be there. You can pay for it right there. There's a link. Also, there is a kit that you can buy if you're going to take the class. And you can buy it or not buy it. You don't have to buy it to take the class. A lot of people have this stuff at home already. You know, the Apoxie Sculpt and stuff. So you don't need to buy it. So if you don't need to buy it, don't buy it. But if you need it, I got it. Okay, so there we go. That's what we got done today. I would just say I lifted this up a little bit. You can see I'm lifting. I am getting this just to show you, case in point. Now it's going to be distorted. Okay, so I have to be very careful how I approach this because I really can't stamp it anymore. So I have to just get it around the edges and then work out my hole. It will be fine. But it does have a different look. It's not as crisp if you do the mica powder after you impress it with your pen. So I hope you enjoyed that. I hope you learned something from it. It's really easy. You can see how simple it is. It's like kids play, really. And you can just be so delighted to see how the patterns come out with your silicone sheets. You probably have these texture sheets. We have some arriving pretty soon, the Lisa Pavelka ones, which I really like because they're bigger. But yeah, we have some arriving at BeSimBoutiques.com very soon. And just remember, all of the tools that you use when you're done, please clean them up very well because that will extend the life of your tools. Okay? So that's all I have to say for today. If you have questions for me, please leave them in the comments. I'm so glad you came.